Luck and hard work are the two factors that bring fame to someone. You will receive what most people receive if you spend your life as most people do. You will have a settled existence if you decide. Your best will return to you if you give it to yourself daily. It may not be academic qualifications or personal status that makes someone famous. Harry S. Truman was the leader of the Democratic Party who served as the 34th Vice President under Franklin Roosevelt and as a United States Senator from Missouri. He became the president after Roosevelt's death. The life story of Harry S. Truman, who rose from being a haberdasher to being the 33rd President of the United States, is shown in this video. May 8, 1884 marked Harry S. Truman's birth in Lamar, Missouri. His parents were Martha Ellen and John Anderson Truman. He had a brother, Vivian, and a sister, Mary Jane. Due to several reasons, they had to shift their place. In 1887, they moved to a farm near Grandview. In 1890, moved to Independence, and finally, in 1902, to Kansas City. Harry S. Truman graduated from a public school in Independence in 1901. After his studies, he worked as a timekeeper for a railroad construction contractor, and later he worked as a clerk in two Kansas City banks. He returned to Grandview in 1906, helped his father run the family farm, and continued there for over 10 years. Due to his father's bad investments, the family fell into hard times and was in financial trouble for many years. Harry's father found the work too challenging, so he told Harry to quit his job and join them on the farm. He obeyed his father, and Henry, at the age of 22, became a farmer. The five Trumans, Grandma Young and later hired helpers, lived in a 7-room farmhouse without electricity or plumbing. Harry, Vivian, and the hired help shared a room above the dining room that was very hot in the summers and very cold in the winters, something Harry remembered well. A call from his father at 5 a.m. starts his day. It would still be dark and cold out. John was very strict about farming work. Whatever work they did, he wanted it to be done perfectly, and Harry was always with his father, correcting his mistakes if anything went wrong. There was a lot of work at the farm. His letter and oral histories mentioned them all. Harry did everything to be done on the farm. He plowed fields using an Emerson gang plow, planted corn and wheat, performed haying, milked cows, worked with pigs, hoed crops in the summer heat, doctored horses, repaired equipment, mended fences, and many other chores and duties. In addition to this, he also needed to bookkeep the account of the farm's sales, purchases, and other expenditures. He was an astonishing piano player. He used to play the piano during the daybreak or after work at night. He also helped his mother and sister to make food. He married Bess Wallace, 1919, who was his childhood friend. During his years on the farm, he began courting his eventual wife, Bess Wallace. Harry had known Bess since childhood and was always fascinated with her. After long hours on the farm, he would write letters to her in the evenings and visit her in Independence on the weekends. A daughter, Mary Margaret, was born to them in 1924. He ran a men's clothing store with his wartime friend in Kansas City. The store failed in the post-war recession. Truman narrowly avoided bankruptcy, but after many years of determination and hard work, he cleared his share of the store's debt. In 1917, he joined the army, stopping his farming career. It was following his 1919 return from France. Then he opened a haberdashery in Kansas before entering into politics. After Harry left the farm, much of it was sold and foreclosed in 1940. Today, the original farmhouse in which the family lived still stands and is a part of the National Park Service's Harry S. Truman National Historic Site, which includes the Truman Home and other sites in Independence. His life as a farmer had a significant influence on his life. He was an early riser and a hard worker, and he continued this. He came to enjoy the time the farm gave him, saying, "Riding one of these plows all day, day after day, gives one time to think. I've settled all the ills of humanity in one way or another while riding along." The years on the farm helped transform him from a shy person to a confident leader. Looking back, Truman stated once, "I thought maybe by cussing mules and planting corn, I could perhaps overcome my shyness and amount to something." Truman's mother also remarked on his transformation. It was on the farm that Harry got all his common sense. Even as he ascended to the highest position in the land and was the first president to lead the United States as a global superpower, Truman carried these traits from the farm. Still, he saw himself as a plain-spoken man from Missouri. He never wanted to forget where he came from, and he never did. Truman served in the Missouri National Guard from 1905 to 1911. and he helped to organize the 2nd Regiment of Missouri Field Artillery during World War I in 1917. It was transported to France as the 129th Field Artillery and prompted enlisted in federal service. Truman was promoted to captain and was assigned the charge of Battery D for the regiment. He and his battalion saw action in the Vosges, Saint-Mihiel, and Meuse-Argonne campaigns. After the war, Truman enlisted in the reserves and eventually attained the rank of colonel. At the start of World War II, he attempted to return to active service, but Army Chief of Staff General George C. Marshall rejected his request. He was elected as one of the 3 judges of the Jackson County Court in 1922. He carried out his duties honestly and efficiently. His duties were in the administrative field, but he was defeated for re-election in 1924. He won the election in 1926 and became the presiding judge in the Jackson County Court, and he won re-election in 1930. In 1934, he was chosen to serve in the U.S. Senate. He had significant roles in the passage into law of the Civil Aeronautics Act of 1938 and the Transportation Act of 1940. He was re-elected and became the chairman of the Senate Special Committee to investigate the National Defense Program. This committee, later known as the Truman Committee, ensured the defense contractor delivered nation quality goods at a fair price. He became the vice president in 1945. However, with the untimely death of President Roosevelt, Harry S. Truman was inaugurated as the country's 33rd president. After he became the president, he replaced Roosevelt's cabinet members and appointed his old friends from his Senate days. Henry Stimson, the Secretary of War, informed Truman of a new, very destructive weapon and the discovery of the worst bomb ever. It might be the disaster brought on by fire predicted for the Euphrates Valley era following Noah and his magnificent ark. The first atomic bomb on July 16th was successful. He traveled to Berlin for the Potsdam Conference with Joseph Stalin and the British leader Winston Churchill. He hinted to Stalin that he was about to use a new weapon against the Japanese, and Stalin was already aware of the bomb project. On his 61st birthday on May 8, 1945, the nation celebrated VE Day after defeating Nazi Germany in Europe. Truman gave the go-ahead to drop 2 atomic bombs on Japan on August 6 and 9th and Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Japan surrendered on August 14th. His policy as the president was to prevent the expansion of the Soviet Union. He desired to extend New Deal social programs to include more government protection and services to reach more people. He was able to build a healthy peacetime economy, but only some of his proposals came as law. Using his presidential powers, he was able to make some crucial changes. He issued orders desegregating armed forces and racial discrimination in federal employment. Truman also established a committee to argue before the Supreme Court on behalf of plaintiffs fighting against segregation. He retired to independence in 1953 after he left his presidential power. He delighted in being Mr. Citizen. He spent his days reading, writing, lecturing, and taking long brisk walks. He founded and supported his library, and the scholars were able to avail his papers. The library doors were open to everyone who wanted to peep into his life and career. Truman was infected with pneumonia, and on December 5, 1972, Truman was admitted to Kansas City's Research Hospital and Medical Center. He also had multiple organ failures. At 88, he went into a coma and passed away on 1972, December 26.